Thursday, the 25th of December, 2025, live from Washington. Welcome to Captive Pulse. Zelensky moves towards demilitarized zones in latest peace plan for Ukraine. Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky has given details of an updated peace plan offering Russia the potential withdrawal of Ukrainian troops from the east and the creation of a demilitarized zone in their place. Detailing the 20-point plan agreed by us and Ukrainian envoys in Florida at the weekend, Zelensky said the Russians would respond on Wednesday once the Americans had spoken to them. Describing the plan as a main framework for ending the war, he said it proposed security guarantees from the U.S., NATO, and Europeans for a coordinated military response if Russia invaded Ukraine again. On the key question of Ukraine's eastern Donbas, Zelensky said a free economic zone was a potential option. He told journalists that as Ukraine was against withdrawal, U.S. negotiators were looking to establish a demilitarized zone or a free economic zone. Any area that Ukrainian troops pulled out of would have to be policed by Ukraine, he stressed. There are two options. Zelensky said either the war continues or something will have to be decided regarding all potential economic zones. The 20-point plan is seen as an update of an original 28-point document. Agreed by U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff with the Russians several weeks ago, which was widely seen as heavily geared towards the Kremlin's demands. The Russians have insisted that Ukraine pulls out of almost a quarter of its own territory in the eastern Donetsk region in return for a peace deal. The rest is already under Russian occupation. Sensitive issues, including questions over territory, would have to be resolved at the leaders' level, but the new draft would provide Ukraine with strong security guarantees and a military strength of 800,000, Zelensky explained. Russian President Vladimir Putin is unlikely to be impressed by the kind of compromise being proposed for Donetsk. He said this month that Russia would take control of the entire east of Ukraine by force if Ukrainian troops did not pull out. However, Trump is pushing for a deal to end almost 4 years of full-scale war, and the Ukrainian president believes Russia cannot afford to reject the U.S. plan. They cannot tell President Trump, look, we're against a peaceful settlement. Zelensky told reporters, if they try to obstruct everything, then President Trump would have to arm us heavily while imposing all possible sanctions against them. Zelensky made clear that if a free economic zone were established in Donetsk, it would have to be under Ukrainian administration and police, definitely not the so-called Russian police. The current front line would then become the boundary of the economic zone with international forces on the ground along the contact line to ensure no Russian infiltration. A referendum would need to be held on the whole peace plan. Zelensky said, and only a referendum could decide on the idea of a potential free economic zone in Donbas. He emphasized that an economic zone would also have to be set up around the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant currently occupied by Russia, and that Russian troops would have to pull out of 4 other Ukrainian regions, Dnipropetrovsk, Mykolaiv, Sumy, and Kharkiv. By the way, there is no reference barring Ukraine from joining NATO, which was in the original 28-point plan and something Russia has consistently demanded. Zelensky has really had a tough time. He transformed from a comedian into a president. He's been fighting with Russia, seemingly for Europe, and Trump isn't doing much better right now. I guess he is probably busy explaining things about the Epstein documents. Does anyone know what Putin is doing now? Maybe he is unwrapping Christmas presents. I don't think the war will end today. You're all pretty occupied, right? Anyway, Merry Christmas. Joe Biden talk to you soon.